I go, look, you dating anyone? First girl said, yeah. I go, well, tell me about him. We talked for an hour and a half, and she finally admitted he is a drug dealer, he swears a lot, drinks a lot, he's cheated on her, and her parents hate him, but I couldn't figure out why. Parents are so unfair. And the next girl jumped in, she said, but Jason, all guys are jerks. I said, no way. I said, there's so many good gentlemen out there. I meet them all the time. They said, they're all jerks. They said, we were at a party 3 weeks ago. These guys came up behind a girl, poured a beer on her head. She's a girl. 2 weeks ago, same party, poured a beer on another girl's head. Last weekend, same party, poured a beer on another girl's head. See, guys are jerks. I said, girls, what are you doing this weekend? And they're like, we're going to the party. I said, okay, let's put our CSI investigation hats on and see where the problem's really coming from. Because it's kind of like this. I have a dog. My wife and I have a different dog. She has one of those little rat dog chihuahua things going on. I have a different dog. My dog's called an English Mastiff. They're the largest breed on earth. She can get over 300 pounds. She's a big girl. Sometimes she gets sick. She'll throw up in the living room. She'll eat like a cat or something. And she walks away. But the coolest thing about her is 5 minutes later, she comes back to the spot. She eats the whole mess up. It's awesome. I don't even have to vacuum. You know, and as sick as that is, the book of Proverbs in the Bible says that as the dog returns to eat his vomit, so too does the fool repeat their folly. Where a girl goes back to the bumping and grinding, belly button shirts, drinking parties, older guys, and then when she's all alone in her heart, she wonders, how come I can't find true love? It's because she's not part of the solution, she's part of the problem. So I beg you girls, set the standard high. Biggest thing I beg you girls, quit the gossip. Your words can cut another person's heart in half. And guys gossip as well, but just take it out. Like, what's going on in the schools? Oh, she's such a slut, she's such a hoe, because she did this. Like, personally, I speak to 100,000 students a year. I've never met a slut. And you may be thinking, well, you haven't met this girl yet. You know, no, you haven't met her. Sluts don't even exist. For one girl I know, the school calls her the slut, they make fun of her. But do these people waste their time gossiping about my friend, bother to get to know her? If they did, they'd all cut her some slack. Because then they realized, dude, her brother died, her cousin died, her friend committed suicide, she got depressed, she started cutting herself. Obviously that made things worse because she wasn't loving her body, so she slept with a guy at work. He got her pregnant. He said, I don't want your baby. Shoved her down the stairs. She had a miscarriage, lost the baby, now she's depressed and going through eating disorders. And do you know what she is, my friends? She's a slut, right? Doesn't that identify her perfectly? They had no clue what she was going through. That's why I beg you, take the labels off and give them the freedom to start over. And it doesn't matter where you've been or what you've done. All that matters is where you go from here. Guys, where do you go from here? Guys can have different reactions to a chastity talk. First reaction a guy can have is resentment, because chastity for a guy is extremely difficult. It demands one thing above everything: authenticity. I can't be one guy on Saturday night and a different guy Sunday morning at church. I can't be one guy in front of the parents and then when their backs are turned, I become somebody else. It means you can have no duplicity in you. For a guy, that's difficult to have that type of integrity, so a guy can run away from the challenge. And in New York, 3 basketball players came up to me after the talk. I love basketball, so we started talking. They were sleeping with a bunch of girls. I asked the first guy, I go, how do you want some guy to treat your daughter one day? He goes, oh, we ain't having daughters. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we're just having sons. I'm like, how are you going to arrange that? He didn't know nobody wanted a daughter. I go, why don't you want a daughter? And he was honest. He said, man, he goes, look, he goes, I know what I'm doing to girls. He said, I'd kill a guy if you ever did that to my princess behind my back. So that was the solution. Use the girls and don't have a daughter. And he was like me in high school because I had the double standard too. One standard is how far I could go with a girl, and the other standard is how far you could go with my little sister. My sister is the captain of the cheerleading team. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Guys liked her. Her first date, doorbell rang. I came downstairs to meet this guy. I was visiting from college. Now I played 3 years of college baseball, so I came downstairs with an aluminum baseball bat in my hand to greet the guy. Basically saying, look, you mess with her, I'm going to mess with you. You better guard the girl's innocence. Guard her innocence. Is that what I did for girls in high school? I didn't even guard my own innocence. I didn't even know what it meant to be a gentleman. So I asked the basketball players one last question. Guys, tell me one thing. Tell me about your relationship with your dads. And they go, oh, sucks. I go, what's going on? All 3 of them had deadbeat dads. Got the moms pregnant, left her with the responsibilities. One guy jumped in. He goes, man, I don't even know how many brothers and sisters I have because my dad's been around with other women. I looked in the face. I said, congratulations, you are becoming your father. You should have seen that guy's eyes open up. He finally got the point. Until he learned self-control himself, he was going to dump his kids, the same type of dad he got left with himself. But their first reaction was resentment. Second reaction, we were at a school that had the best basketball team in the country. After the talk, center of the team walks up. And the guy was about like 8, 9, maybe 11 feet tall. And he walks up. He's like, hey, can we talk in the back? I was like, yes, come with me. And I took his hand and we went back here. And I was like, well, what's going on up there? And he goes, man, he goes, be honest with you? And he goes, I've been with so many girls. I've done so much stuff. He's like, I knew every time I was killing her. But she wanted it, I wanted it. Half the time I was drunk, I just blamed it on the beer. And he goes, at this school, the girls are more sexually aggressive than the guys half the time. We get used too. And he goes, but after your talk, he's like, it's different. He's like, I never even thought about it like that. He goes, I want to be faithful to my wife before I meet her. He goes, dude, I don't want to get married and give my wife all these memories I have of teenage girls I'm never going to see again when I graduate. He goes, how do you start over when you've been where I've been? It just seems kind of late. He said, when you're with the girl and she's ready for sex, how do you say no to that? I said, look, if a girl you're with thinks she's ready for sex and she's not ready to be a mother, then she has no clue what she's talking about. In Boston, a 7th grade boy came up to me. He said, Jason, my girlfriend and I have talked and we're ready. And I'm like, he's 12. I'm like, ready? I go, are you ready to be a father? And he's like, well, no, just for sex. And after explaining to him the shocking connection just discovered between the two, I said, buddy, I said, look, I said, my wife and I have been married a couple of years. I said, to be personal with you, our first baby has had a lot of medical problems. He's been in and out of the hospital a whole bunch. And so I said, you know, for the first 2 years of being a dad, I spent $30,000 in medical bills for my son. $30,000 after health insurance. So I can have the best doctors on planet Earth taking care of my boy. I go, you got what it takes to be a good father? He goes into his pocket, pulled his wallet out, and he's like, I have $5 to buy her a pizza. I mean, if you love the girl, you prove it. And if you guys ever open up the Bible, right in the middle, you're going to find erotic, sexual love poetry in the middle of the Bible. I mean, it's juicy stuff. And right in the middle of this book, the lover says to his beloved, he says, you have ravished my heart, my sister, my bride. You hear this? The groom says to the woman he loves more than life itself, you are my sister, you are my bride. And some guys may hear that and be like, that's kind of gross, man. I'm not into like kissing my sister. That's like, a man will never be able to love his wife as a bride unless he learns to love her as a sister first. What does a guy do for his sister? He protects her. He defends her. He's not some predator. He's not some destroyer. He watches out. He's got that girl's back. And if you can't say the same thing about the girl you're dating, for her soul, for her body, for her future, then you'll not be capable of loving her as your bride. The sister first, then the bride.